Here we go. Hi, Kim.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Welcome to In the Middle. Kim, who is my favorite person that I do not get to see nearly as often as I want to. Kim and I are here to have a conversation about the lessons that we're learning about ourselves and about our faith in the middle of the journeys that we are on. Because Kim, who is such a successful person, and only because of what she has done, but because of the way that she approaches life and really leans into what she's learning, what she's doing right in the middle of it, because she recognizes that what's most important is not just the destination, but what's happening and how she's growing while she's on her way to wherever she's on her way to. So our conversation today gets to just hear from Kim and what she's up to and what she's in the middle of. And we've been in the middle of a couple of different conversations. We've been having conversations about being in the middle of getting married, joining a brand new big job, launching a franchise. And Kim, welcome to our chat today.
Oh, it's so good to be here. It's so good to see you, Amber, Dr. Field.
Yes, yes, yes. I know people don't know. I guess maybe they'll get from this conversation about how much fun we have together.
Just the credentials right here on this is just extraordinary.
Kim, so we can get to know you a little bit more. What were you in the middle of right before you joined this phone call?
Oh, right before I joined this phone call, I was in the middle of this standing call that I have with a couple of creative friends of mine called Creative Business Time. So we just come together and like check in with each other as like kind of creative coworkers. Like, how's it going? Like, how are you doing? Um, but like also like, what projects are you working on, or like problem solving things. So I was just trying to problem solve like some landlord issues with another friend and like working through stuff. But yeah, every week, Creative Business Time, and that's what I was in the middle of, organizing my own creative life and helping my friends out.
Oh, I like that, helping your friends out. I like that you are not in the middle of like being by yourself in this journey that you're on. It sounds like you have
Oh,
brought.
well, listen, it is a very lonely journey. It's a very lonely journey. But yeah, you're right. Those are touch points that very much like anchor um every week. Like, okay, it's okay to be alone in the journey.
Oh, that's a good point. So yes, it can be a very lonely journey, especially when you're forging ahead in places that you've never been before. But I appreciate the fact that you do have some community around you that y'all are just connecting to help each other problem solve.
And sometimes we talk about like plants, right? Like, what plant did you buy today from Home Depot? I got the snake plant, or I got this plant, or look at my aloe vera, it's growing. So like, it's not just a business or art. It is, home things too. And like, how are you taking care of your spirit?
Oh, how are you taking care of your spirit? Yeah, you need to. You need to stay grounded, and the people around us help us stay grounded, Kim.
Mhm.
Well, let's see. I was in the middle before I got onto this call. I was in the middle of taking a nap because I was sleepy. So I set my alarm and I took my nap, and then I hopped up and I'm so ready to talk to you today. But I do
It's
think it's
only the second thing I've done. This is like maybe I've only been up for like 3 hours. So I totally understand the rest is important.
it is. But no, really though, I think that I love the fact that we both are like, let's get some rest. And I appreciate, and you'll talk about it a little bit more in a second, but where we are both in our journeys, I think we're both experiencing some flexibility and allowing ourselves to rest and to nap. And we both come from very intense teaching, learning, education,
Regimented.
regimented learning environments where you're up before the sun comes up, you don't come home until the sun goes down, and every moment of our day is go 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 go. So I am fully enjoying being in the middle of designing my own schedule these days.
Mhm. Yeah, and neglected to say this, like, I'm like in my journey, like in the thing I'm in the middle of, like kind of right now, is figuring out what does being a full-time artist look like for me. Um, like you said, like we both came from this sort of background of like very highly regulated, regimented, every minute matters, sort of every moment, everything matters, style and education. Um, and since then I have like transition to like other programs or like after school programs or something a little less like on schedule, on demand, if you will. And this is my first year, like starting January 2021, where it's like there are no other checks besides art that are the focus here. Like
Yes.
this is my first, and I'm like, oh wow. So I'm like in the middle of the end of a journey, um, where I have to just get used to it. Like this is the only person I report to is myself. So
Mhm.
like I'm like in the middle of that transition from like mourning, I think in some ways of a kind of a lifestyle, and then being like, well, on the other side, there's this. And what does that routine look like? And how do I incorporate rest and just things that I'm not used to, or that the voice is telling me what to do something every day. It's nobody else's voice but my own.
You have said so many things that I am so excited about that so yes, so I heard you say that you were in the middle of transitioning into being a full-time artist and figuring out what that means for you and how you decide to live your life in the way that best allows you to be your authentic artist self.
Mhm.
And that is so beautiful. Um, what else do you want to share about that? And at the same time, what are you loving about being in this journey?
Um, I love that I could say more of what's on my mind. You already know I have almost no filter. So now the filter is gone. Filter done left the building. It's no
Yes,
longer here. You
yes.
can't find it. It's
Mhm.
wanted. Um, that I really enjoy. And in some ways, being my own HR, I enjoy that. So like I very much enjoy being able to step into a space, social, professional, and being like, I don't have to worry about my boss finding out about anything that I said or did.
You are the boss.
I am the boss. So that part, I'm really enjoying as a part of this journey. It's been the most fulfilling. Having been a boss and worked for people or worked for bosses that they're just not even thinking about that level, that veneer of I'm not putting like of I have to make sure that I adhere to a certain set of respectability politics. Uh, that really has been liberating in ways that all the bumps along the way to get to this full-time artist place was well worth it for sure.
I love it. So tell us about what is something that has surprised you about yourself, or something that is just like that you're so excited about that you're seeing in yourself in this journey that you're on.
Listen, girl, I was like, I got a lot of talent. This is cool. You had asked like what was something that was really amazing to share, and like one of the amazing things to share was this past September I had my first uh, gallery solo show in Los Angeles, at Gavlet Gallery, and I'm now being represented by them. And in that moment, I was able to go to the opening and looking around at people being like, wow, work. And I was like, oh yeah, you did that. You made that. That's awesome. And it is worth the time, the energy, and the adoration in some ways that people give towards it. And I think there have been so many moments where I've been critical about what I could have done better. So, like, in some ways, to see the best in any moment just represented and being that it's the best that I could have done in that moment and not better, and that it's okay for others to be better after that. That is invaluable for sure. And that was like the most interesting thing about discovering this level of freedom, and the thing that I learned the most after, like, while being in the middle of this transition, it's like, oh, you got talent and it's okay for other people to see it and appreciate it, unapologetically, and not with like the caveat of, oh, this is a Black woman, this is a queer woman, this is this person, this is that person. It's like, no, that shit is just good.
Kim, you always have such an awesome smile. You always have. I've always known you to have that, but I just feel your energy, and what you're saying reminds me of how important it is to celebrate ourselves. That when we're in the middle of transitioning, in the middle of a journey, in the middle of doing something new, and like each day that you show up is a celebration in and of itself, and saying, "Wow, I did that." Right? Because you can go back, and I know a lot of times, and this is part of the reason why we have this conversation, is that we don't take the time until sort of the end of the road to say, "Oh yeah, great, here's what I accomplished." But I think it's so important to take a moment each day or each step of the journey to say, "Look at what I did." Um, look at that phone ring.
Ooh, look, see, that's the Lord calling, saying, hey, that's right, you did that.
Right, exactly. There was a confirmation. But that you can celebrate, that we can celebrate ourselves. And because we are showing up in different ways. Oh, I cannot. Okay, this is.
Don't let it bother you. It's cool.
Okay, it's cool,
No,
right? It's cool.
yeah, it's fine. No, and like, I was on our creative business time call. That was something that me, and my friend Curtis, my other friend Pamela, we were talking about, like, having things to, like, what was something good that happened this week? Like, I told them, oh, I got a massage yesterday with my sister for my, for her birthday. And they were like, oh my God, that's amazing. And they're like, how do you feel? And it was like, wow. It wasn't just the, oh, you took a moment to take care of yourself. It was celebrating the fact that you got this opportunity to just even relax in such a deep space when we're all seeking, relaxation from this pandemic, or moments of peace and joy and solitude, or just peace, not solitude, joy, moments of peace and joy. And that being something to celebrate just as much as, oh, you sold a piece, or you're working on a new project or a new video, or you got a new client, like,
Yeah.
and that act of celebrating also just like instantly brightened my spirit and made me feel so much better, that other people were just happy about the fact that I was like, I'm gonna go get a damn massage.
But you know what though, but what you're reminding me of too is I've seen, like, right at 2021, so there are a lot of Instagram posts talking about, how do I want to feel this year, and what kind of experiences do I want to have this year. So yes, we're setting goals. Yes, to setting goals, and to being successful, and to selling your artwork, because all of that is amazing. But also yes to saying, we talked about this in the beginning, yes, I want to rest. And yes, I want to delight. One of my goals right now is to delight in my husband and in my kids every single day, and to have fun. And I think that being in the middle of a journey, and when you're learning about yourself, it's really important to take a moment and say, like, what really matters to me? What is it that, because it's not going to be just getting to this end goal, but it is in the things that allow us to get to that end goal that I think matter as well. You can't get to, I mean, you are fully on your way to being a world-renowned artist.
Oh, girl, listen. Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right.
But how are you going to get there if by the time you get there, you've done worn yourself out? And so,
You're right. I'm happy you said that, because one of the things that, like, as I was thinking about, like, what are the key thoughts I want to make sure I express in this conversation, and being in the middle of knowing that, like, your thoughts are work. Thinking is work. And in some industries, you're always moving and interacting. So your thinking is on the fly, and it's you get like a direct result from your thoughts. Oh, this is a problem. I need to do this. Da, 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 da. I can send this email. But in my work, in my practice, I build sculptures. So it requires some thought. Like I have to really spend some time staring at white space, thinking about, okay, how am I going to construct this piece so it doesn't topple over? And being okay with that, with thinking as work and peace. I'm like, even now, I'm like, all right, taking moments where I'm like, yeah, you're working right now. You're not in front of a computer. You don't even have anything in your hand. You're just thinking. And I'm like, it's a position not very much afforded to women or Black people to just sit and think. But then you read like the most successful entrepreneurs and like, how do they start their day? And they be like, oh, I worked out from 6 to 8. And then from 8 to 10, I thought. You're like, what? But like the idea of not even thinking that you can stop and think. Because thinking is planning and it's dreaming and it's wondering. And there are moments where I'm like, oh, my thoughts will lead me somewhere and I have the space to go there with my thoughts. Or to pick something up. Like right now, I'm off camera, you can't see, is I'm staring at a sculpture. So I'm like multitasking at this point, right? But it is the ability the freedom to think. And I think the freedom to think allows so much more rest and peace. And I'm in the middle of trying to quell my anxiety around my thoughts, those are the things I should have the least amount of anxiety about, right? My thoughts are the most secure thing, my thoughts and my feelings. So if I'm able to just be okay with thinking, then everything else will work itself out and will allow me to be more, not productive, but have like a smoother road in the journey. I'm in the middle has been the theme of the week or the theme of the month. So we were talking about, I want you to have this conversation. I'm like, yes, there are multiple things I'm in the middle of. And one of the things I think we all feel this is like the interconnectedness between like work and capitalism and the taxation on our time. And I'm in your conversation you were having with, I was watching you with Rashonda and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, what you're saying. I also too feel. And like one of the things I encounter in my work is that like I'll post something on Instagram and I'll share what I'm working on, and then collectors or some other folks will feel entitled to that. And I'm like, look at that. You feel entitled to something of a thought that I had or something that I shared. And it's this pressure to like constantly work and produce work. And I was like, no, I have to remember that one of the things I'm in the middle of is being at peace with myself, and this is my therapy. So I can't let those other pressures like kind of rein in. I went on a tangent there, but
no. I'm 100% with you, Kim. And one of the things I kept thinking while you were talking is that you are showing up in a new way. And there's this process of knowing that, of being, I guess, where you were before and having to function in a certain way. And now you're getting to learn a whole new way of functioning that maybe you've always wanted to be doing, or that has always been authentic to you. And now you're seeing that you're able to like live in your full self, and you are your boss, and you are like entitled to and owner of all your thoughts without having to filter them or like get approval of them from other people. And then recognizing that they are wonderful thoughts and perfectly fine, and you're doing well, and in so many cases even better than you've ever done before. And so I hear that in your process, that you get to find a new way to be, and that is like fully allowing you to live in all your excellence. And I love it.
And realizing that there are people walking about the world who just have been always living this way. And I'm like, why haven't I been doing this whole time? And then realizing like these are actual skills that I need if I'm going to be successful. And that like I have to have that a North Star for myself. And it begins with my own thoughts and feelings.
Yes. You know what I have learned and given myself permission to do, because I'm in the middle of launching a ministry, and within the middle having these conversations and figuring out, how we bring people together to let everybody know that it is okay to be in a space where you are not yet fully there. And there's so much richness and growth that happens in this moment right here.
Mhm.
And then, so one of the things I'm more and more learning every single day and that I'm so excited about is making mistakes, asking lots of questions, and saying, I have no idea. Because in where I come from, those were such scary places for me to be in, or scary things for me to say, because I always felt like my competence, my intelligence was on the line. But what you said before about there are people who walk around like this every day. How do you create ideas? How do you make something great? Is by putting it out there, seeing what works, and when it doesn't, making it better.
Mhm.
And so, just the process of even being in a place where I'm like, I'm not sure how this is going to go, or this is a risk, has been really exciting to see how I respond to those moments when I find out something that I wanted to work didn't work, but what it drives me to do moving forward
Mhm.
uh, has been enlightening.
Mhm.
Okay,
Oh man.
well, that's the good stuff. And
I
this
know, right?
it's all good. But my next question though is that it is challenging. Even the good stuff is challenging. So what has been most difficult for you in this process?
um Well, I think with every career change, there's like the fiscal risk. That was the hardest thing for me. I had been working since I was 13, and I'm 34 now. So I'm like, I feel like I'm ready for retirement. And the hardest thing for me was going through the ebbs and flows of um, transitioning for a career, from education to art, and the stops in between, like the half stops. So like I work part-time doing this and part-time doing that. That was difficult for me. Um, the It's still difficult for me to sit still, right? And that be okay. I don't know if that's me, a Virgo, me as a former teacher, as an athlete. I don't know what that is, but I just like just ah! That's very difficult still, but I'm getting there. And I think the challenge I think scares me the most is that like I was in the middle of this transition and now I'm at the beginning of another journey. And that road is a road that I'm even less familiar with because it can take on travel and a whole other scope of, wealthy collectors, or and where do black people fit into that mix, and all of these other things that can happen, where the stakes can feel higher, so because it's a whole other world of capitalism that I'm participating in, that for us as black folks we're not really, we have history in it, but we are not, it's almost hard to be a agent of change within the industry that I'm working in. So I think and like my work is just like black be black black black, so it's hard to I think feel um at peace, because I'm like, well, I'm living in the intersection of a lot of different things, especially in this moment right now where folks are considering the currency of blackness, considering the currency of art, um all of this within the world of political issues that we're um, facing, and that I like knowing about what's going on. So, because I wouldn't have these issues if I was like, I don't read the news. But because I read the news, it bothers me. And I know that my work is a reflection of how I feel Black people are presented in the ways that I think they are regal. And recognizing that they come with wisdom, that they come with experience and like a wealth of like joy and laughter and creativity. So I think trying to figure out like, okay, where is that journey going to go and how can I fit in? How can I still be dynamic in my sculpture making, and have time to live with my sculptures before I like sell them off to the world, or have them, you know, leave before I'm ready. And in some ways, it's like feeling more like a mother. I'm not a mother. I have no intentions of being a child mom, like a, human mom. Just I'm a plant mom. I'm an art mom. Maybe I'll be a dog mom. I'm not sure. That might be a few years off. But yeah, realizing that this is the beginning of another journey, I think that's hard for me. But I'm like, it's okay, because the difference is now at the beginning of this path, like I decided I want to be on this journey because it makes me happy.
Yeah. Kim, one of the things that I started thinking about while you were talking is the idea that we can have multiple journeys running concurrently, right? So you said that you're actually sort of towards the end of one journey and beginning a new journey. And so now you're in the middle all over again. And I think one, that is the nature of life, that we're always all on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
We're always in the middle of something. And so as you were talking, I was wondering, how do you draw strength from a previous journey that you were in the middle of and bring it into this next one?
Ooh, that's Amber, I wish some other artists and curators would ask the same question about my work, because they're all connected. Especially since I work with tires. Oh my God, so good. Love a good question. Um, Remembering the past, I think I have found telling other people about my past journey has helped me understand which journeys have been the most effective and have taught me the most. Full stop. So, for example, creative business call, one of our friends is having this issue with housing, and I've never had any issues with housing where you have to have the landlord come in and fix something. Like, everyone's been usually responsive in the places I've lived in. But I was like, but I have worked in schools. And if you have ever looked at the school construction authority, you know that you can't have this. And I'm like, why do I know so much about, how this person should proceed? As well as because I've navigated these institutions. Different journey, not even a personal one, came from work. But that it's okay to have some of those things cross over, because at that moment, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is a part of my job. Little do I know that it will help me 5 years from then be able to say, no, 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 you have agency in this moment where you're not supposed to have. And the landlord has the responsibility to do something. And I think sometimes we don't want to go back in time and recollect, because it can be painful. I know I don't like doing it, especially like really tough moments where you've been fired or embarrassed or angry or you made the wrong decision. But I found that getting comfortable with sharing those really vulnerable moments as a teaching purpose or teaching tool with other people, that's where those past journeys become really, really valuable. And I'm like, this is why they're like wisdom. Such an elder statesman sort of thing, right? This is why Winston Churchill was so successful during World War II, because he understood from World War I. And it makes sense for us to like want to look back in order to move forward. It's not just in passing on stories, but like a way of life, where we see it matrilinearly or throughout the patriarchy and bad practices. But it just allows for us to, I think, to step out and compare it to another experience. It's hard, but and it has been my own way, I think, of journaling. I may not write it down, but I'll definitely share the story with somebody.
Kim, that is so good. And that's such a good reminder that we often want to leave the past behind us. And in so many ways, yes, right? We don't want to get bogged down in regret or fear from things that have happened in the past, but we also can honor what we've learned in the past. We've gotten to this point and gone through things that do help us in the present and moving into the future. And I think that that's a really important reminder. I like to think about the fact that after being in education for 18 years, I was like, I am no longer supposed to be in K to 12 education, right? And I wrote down this list the year that I was turning 40, I had this 40 before 40 list. And I said, I'm leaving this career, I'm transitioning, I am out. And
First of all, 40 where? I just have to make sure I say that. Okay, go ahead and continue. You're making sure you're transitioning out.
Girl, please. That was 2.5 years ago now, right? So
You can't get on camera and tell these lies, okay? This is just not, just not okay.
so but okay, that was August 2018, right? That I did transition out. And do you know what I figured out in the past 2.5 years?
What?
That I'm a teacher. Okay. So that in this journey that I've been in to transition and to really speak to who I was created to be, at the end of the day, I am still a teacher. Mm-hmm. And I had to go back and look at and draw on all of those previous experiences that I felt were really difficult and challenging, and look at how I really do find my joy in those spaces where creating learning experiences for people, helping people have conversations and sort of look inside themselves and grow from there. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And so when you're talking about how you look back and honor your past and realize that there are all of these, I mean, I'm a very spiritual person. And so whether you believe it's, God and the Holy Spirit or the universe, I 100% believe that things work together for good. And all of our previous experiences, at some point, we can look back and see the impact that they have in our lives today, and how we needed those experiences then to do what we're doing today, or even what we're going to do in the future. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate this idea of looking back at our past with perhaps some appreciation or opportunity to pull from it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, sorry to.
No, that's okay.
Like one of the things I had to realize, I was like, oh, I have started a business. There's a creative expression to it, but it's like, you got to make sure you get your receipts together. I got to make sure I got my taxes and everything in order. That there are other elements of public speaking and presentation. Frequently artists are called on to be teaching artists and to engage with different age groups and things like that. It's like, I got these skills already, because what do you have to do as a teacher or, someone working in schools or a school leader full time? You have to get up and talk to people all the time. You have to problem solve. You have to have an eye on per pupil and the budget. Like, there's so many things that were already embedded as a skill set. And I was like, I needed to go through that journey to get here, because it allowed me to be a better manager of things. And you already know how I feel about classroom management. So.
And like, no mess. You were like, get it together, please. Yes.
The binder for the things. This is the naming convention.
I still remember. And it serves you today, doesn't it?
It serves me, because I need a naming convention for images of my work.
Yes.
To archive and catalog everything.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, this is very different. This is very much the same as cataloging lesson plans.
Yes.
Cataloging teacher reviews or professional development sessions I've attended or done. And I was like, okay, this is good. Because sometimes I look around at other folks, I'm like, oh, I realize that the difference is that you don't have the skill set. You might have, and like folks are in the middle of different journeys. Like, you might be in the middle of being in your artist journey. I'm in the beginning. Some people are in the middle, but they are at the beginning of their, business acumen journey, or, just keeping track of paperwork, which is nothing but a lot of what teachers do is keep track of paperwork. And they're like, oh, well, you know a lot about this. And I'm like, well, this has just been my world for the last, decade or so, decade plus. Absolutely. I forget where I was going with that, but I think there's people shy away from sharing bad stories that would cause the listener to judge the storyteller. Like, it can be scary to say, oh, I just started a business, and like not be able to, like, people are like, how much money do you make? Da, 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 da. Like, one of the things I was getting was like, how much are your sculptures going for? It's like, I don't know if you make any artwork. So we're already doing apples to oranges comparisons. And if you don't understand, then you don't understand. But I think people are scared to share those vulnerabilities that vary from the norm. But those variabilities are the things that teach us what to do when shit goes awry.
Yes. Oh, that is so good. Yes. You yeah, like we have so much to draw on. Like when yeah, like we are in uncharted territory in so many ways when we're in the middle of a journey with like things we've never done before.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that this is what we're talking about, but we can go back and say there is something in our past that is going to help us take the next step in this journry.
Mm-hmm.
So like
One of
yeah.
the things I saw people struggling with at the onset of the pandemic was unemployment. People
Mhm.
didn't know they didn't even know there was a New York State specific link, didn't know what SNAP benefits or WIC stood for, none of that stuff. I'm like, oh, well, this is the website. This is what you do. This is how you sign on. This is how you get health insurance. And I think for folks who have been told that, like, as long as you stay on this path and this
Mhm.
journey, you will never have to navigate those systems. But
Mhm.
then we have something existential happen, and it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do?
Mhm.
Then how do I move forward? But it would, if I was nervous about saying, oh, I've been unemployed,
Yeah.
then I can't help somebody else who might be their first go around. I'm like, this is my third go around, girl. Listen, let me tell you, blow up this site. You in front of your computer.
Yes, Kim. Yeah.
And those that matters. I would say similar things for anyone who's going through like a health crisis. If you've ever been sick, I've been really sick before, right? Or if you've even experienced some type of loss, like the loss of a parent or a loved one,
Yeah.
and the vulnerability being like, I understand how you feel, or I've never experienced that, I don't know how you feel. And I think that's where we get to have a better understanding of the journeys that people are on, and like where's the color? Are they in like a red anger kind of thing? Are they in the middle of a sunny journey? Are they in the middle of grief? Are they in the middle of confusion? Like, where are they? And where are you in relation to that person? Because I do believe, I'm one of those people who believes that like things happen, people come together for a reason. Like, just, and it's always right on time and necessary.
That's right, Kim. That in these challenging, even we know that being in the middle is going to be challenging, and that's sort of the nature of the job. And at the same time, we can pull on our previous challenging experiences and draw support from others who have been there. And I
Yeah.
think that that is the strength, though, too, in being honest and why we're having this conversation right now. Because I know that there are people listening who may be fearful of even starting a journey
Mhm.
because of what it could mean and what challenges they may face.
Mhm.
But to know that you have done something in your past that is going to strengthen you for those difficult moments, and to surround yourself with people who could also speak into your life and strengthen you as well, is important to remember while we are in the middle.
Yes.
So, Kim, two more questions for you. The first one is, how can we pray for you? How can we lift you up?
Even just holding me in thought, me and my family and friends in thought and health, that is more than I can ask for. It's nice to be thought of. So thank you, um, for thinking, even if it's a passing thought. Like, I feel like that's the prayer by itself. So, well wishes. I think if I had to be real specific, though, please give me the patience. Pray for patience. One of the things I'm trying to not shed, but draw boundaries around is when it's my time to teach and when it's my time not to teach. Um,
Kim.
so, so patience for when it is my time to teach. If you can
Okay.
send that prayer along.
Okay. We got you. And my last question for you is, all right, so we are going to come back and we're going to say, hey, remember when we spoke to Kim 6 months ago? We are going to spotlight you and say what you're up to. So, in light of what you've shared today, what are we going to share about where you are and how you're doing in 6 months?
So we January. So like, what are we looking like? June, July. Okay. Well, I know I have some shows at the around that time. So the spotlight will be like, hey, look at this amazing artwork Kim has chosen to produce and share in the last 6 months. How amazing what the talent is. um,
Yes, yes.
and spotlight probably being out in the sunshine and happy that it's a little bit warmer because it's very cold in the Northeast at this moment. So 6 months from now, that's where we will be living in sunshine and art for sure.
Yes, and I love that you brought us back to where we started, right? That yes, you have your specific goals about your accomplishments in art, but then you are still focused on how you want to live your life. And I lift up the sunshine that will be beaming down on your face in 6 months. Well, Kim, thank you so much for talking with me today and for chatting and for having such a good time with me. I share with everybody who's listening right now, we know we're all in the middle of something and you're learning so many lessons that are strengthening you right now. And I'd love to hear in the comments, what are you in the middle of and what are the lessons that you're learning? And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Bye.